Well, welcome everybody. Those of you that do follow me know I talk about human transformation. And today I'm very, very grateful and blessed to have an amazing human being and a very successful executive, Maile Buker. Welcome to the Human Transformation Show here.
Thank you, Mike. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. So Maile has an amazing background, which she's going to share with you in a minute, just both in her personal life. And for those of you in Maine, if you're looking to speak to someone who has an enormous passion, but also background in the hospitality and outdoor spaces, please take a listen. Maile's got a tremendous background. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Maile. Just give us a little, I love hearing stories and sort of who you are and what influenced your journey to where you are today.
Absolutely, Mike. So it's been a long and windy road. Sometimes I think of it as Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. But I have, where I've landed, I have close to 4 decades of marketing experience, all client side, all consumer brands, mostly passion brands with a few cult brands thrown in there, those with really strong consumer or emotional connections with consumers. So big ones like Nike and Pepsi and Coors and Hannaford supermarkets, and then little ones, startups like Izzy Sparkling Juice and Zico Coconut Water, and then some brands in the middle like Black Diamond Equipment and Eastern Mountain Sports and Timberland Footwear. And I'm just so lucky and grateful to have had all these wonderful opportunities. I'm a brand marketer at heart, and it's what really fuels my passion. I've been doing this for a while. I've been in leadership roles probably for over 25 years. I retired from Hannaford Supermarkets year before last, and I took a full year just to completely goof off. Lots of travel,
Yeah.
lots of writing. I bought a Vespa. Her name is Bella Blue, and went on many adventures in Maine with her to discover Maine's islands, and roomed all over the place. And it was when, Mike, it was when I've been doing a fair amount of writing, memoir style, to really capture the stories through personal essays. For a long time, I've been telling other people's stories. So I've been telling my own, and it was really when I just finally connected the dots. I don't know why it took me so long, with my father's story and how much he's really informed, inspired, and influenced my life's journey. Like me, he was an adventurer and a curiosity seeker, and he was always trying something new. And he was a lifelong marketer. In fact, I think of him as one of the original Mad Men, but on the West Coast. Okay, not so much in Manhattan, but on the West Coast, kind of a self-proclaimed bohemian in San Francisco back in the 50s.
Wasn't he one of his first marketing efforts was around, was it plum? No, what was that? It was like, it's pretty funny to tell that story. That's pretty funny. Not plums. What was it?
Oh, I have a picture of him in the boardroom with all these men in suits, and he's got a big flip chart and poster board, if you will, with a launch plan for prunes.
There you go. Yeah.
And I just laugh when I look at that, and I think, oh my gosh, he was really on the forefront of that big explosion of consumer brands and consumer packaged goods coming off of World War II in the 50s. And he did a lot of their very traditional research, market research, in terms of consumer, buying behavior and patterns, where they'd look through the glass and watch the housewives shop. And I've got pictures of that too. It's so cool. But the thing that blew my mind is he was one of the very first marketers, I think, to really, as an early adopter of influencer marketing. We know about that right now. It's influence on TikTok and Instagram, and how it's really exploded. And I've done a fair amount of that through the brands that I've worked with over the years. But he actually recruited a guy who came to be my godfather in Hawaii. I was born and raised in Hawaii. And before he and my mom moved to the islands, he had an account. He worked for an ad agency in San Francisco, and he had an account. There was Matson Ship Lines, and they did all the, they had the luxury liners and moved people from the West Coast to the Hawaiian Islands. And he thought he would get an influence there and kind of build this concept around doing business with pleasure. And he recruited a guy by the name of Chin Ho, who was known as the Rockefeller of the islands, kind of self-made Chinese gentleman who did really well and broke the Chinese glass ceiling. And there's a picture of him in his, his horn rim glasses and his signature cigar and bow tie at a white linen tablecloth table in the stateroom of one of Matson ships with my godmother, Betty, with the gloves and looking very, very debonair and doing business with pleasure. And then in the background is my father smoking a cigarette at another table. It just cracks me up. He always ended up to found himself in his own advertising more often than not.
Yeah, it's amazing when I think about it. You look at your career that you just walked us through. I mean, you've been with high-end premium brands, startup kind of brands, but they all do evolve around this passion. And I'm curious, as you sort of evolved into the work you do today, and think about the work that the Maine small, mid-sized business owners, because this state, I've visited here for my whole life and lived here 7 years. This is a state that has a lot of passion around, especially the hospitality and outdoor space where you have expertise in. But talk a little about the work you do today. What are you doing today, and sort of how do you see that applying to some of the Maine businesses that are in those spaces you have expertise in?
No, absolutely. After the year I took off and when I goofed off and I realized, marketing has been such a big part of my life, and I've always been so passionate about it that I really didn't have an off switch. And so I think of it more as rewirement. And I wanted to kind of keep doing the work that I loved, but focus on Maine brands and all those small businesses, which is mostly what Maine is made up of. Right. Leverage the experience that I have to really help Maine businesses not just survive and thrive. So I connected with a marketing consulting firm called Chief Outsiders. And we're about 120, 125 battle tested CMOs, chief marketing officers from all kinds of industries. We are in 35 different markets across the country. We work remotely, but I have the privilege of being the only one in Maine. And so I am focused on developing, opportunities in Maine and really helping a lot of those Maine family-owned businesses and entrepreneurs, particularly in the outdoor space, the food space, consumer brands, hospitality, travel, those kinds of things. And so as as a fractional CMO for Chief Outsiders, I drop in as I'm a CMO for hire. I'm a like rent an executive or executives as a service, as we think about it, to come in with small companies who are struggling with what we call random acts of marketing, where they really don't have a strategy in place that's informed by customer data and key insights. They might be struggling with really landing what the right growth strategy is. Right. The marketing might not be on the same page. They might be falling behind. They may not have a platform to really measure, what they're doing right in sales and marketing effectiveness, or they might have the wrong people on the bus. So we can come in and do assessments and kind of figure that out, develop a growth engine, and really help chart a course for companies to be able to grow and to be able to achieve their annual goal. So it's really cool company because we have this tribe about just this like incredible brain trust that I can tap into to be really current, particularly in this digital age. And so that's important to continue to sharpen your sword and your toolkit there. So we all support each other. I've got this great community, and I've had the opportunity to work with one brand in particular up in the mid coast of Maine, a small company, and I've been an advisor to that CEO, and it's just been immensely rewarding and just really a lot of fun, and just helping out where I can.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've worked on big brands and small brands and middle brands, and unfortunately, access and resources to people with your incredible story, background, experience, but more importantly, what I when I'm talking about human transformation, you have someone who's just lived through so much personally, being in Hawaii as a surfer, now living in Maine. I think it's unfortunate a lot of small, mid-sized business owners probably don't appreciate what it would be like to have someone with your build a background to come in and do it in an objective way to help them understand sort of the value of marketing. I'm curious. I know you did some work. I think obviously you're with Hannaford for a lot of years, but Hyperlight, I think, was another brand you worked with and did some stuff
Yeah.
with. What would you say in Maine? I own a small outdoor brand, hospitality, and I'm thinking, geez, what are you facing in marketing in Maine, would you say, as companies that you feel like are the biggest top two things they're wrestling with right now that they typically don't have the resource to resolve? Is there anything that comes to mind that you can think of?
Yes, I'd say there's a couple of things. It's really finding, what that right strategy is and resource it appropriately. There are so many choices out
Yeah.
there right now. And I see a lot of CEOs and leadership teams just get so confused. A lot of choices, a lot of shiny objects, a lot of pitches. I've seen CEOs get kind of sideways and fall into the black hole with a digital marketing agency as an example, and have just not the relationship that needs to be formed out of the gate with expectations set. What does success looks like? Are we aligned? How are we going to measure this? How to support it? And so I've seen that happen over and over again. There's some phenomenal digital marketing agencies out there. There's some really good ones. And it's important to kind of land the right partner and develop that trust relationship, but set those expectations up front. So I see CEOs kind of get sideways with that a little bit. And then again, just being super efficient with the resources, understanding what does success looks like, what's the winning strategy, come back to basics with a go-to-market strategy. What are we selling? Where are we going to play? And how do we win? It can be really quite simple, but getting the right people on the bus and making sure they've got good alignment and go. So that's a key one. And the other thing that I'm seeing a lot, and it's not just in Maine, but coming out on the other side of the pandemic, remote working is here to stay. It is not going away. And with that, people more than ever are craving connection and a sense of community. So it's really important for employers to really understand how to keep employees connected and motivated and connected, in particular to a company's mission. And what is the role that they play in contributing to the success and delivering of the annual goals. So having that important connection and really keeping morale up and people understanding what role do they play. So likewise, people are, again, craving connection and craving experience and really want to be part of something bigger than themselves, right? That gives them joy and meaning to their life and a sense of community. So that is more important more than ever.
Right. No, I agree with that. So help me I'm a small family-run business, like you said, or a company up here, and I don't do a lot of marketing. I've been able to get my business growing for many years. Maybe it's a second generation, maybe it's still the first. But I realize I got to transform myself, and I'm a little overwhelmed. There's this chat GPT stuff going on. There's all these social media things, and I'm overwhelmed. So my choices would be to try to hire someone to help me figure it out and bring them on as an employee. Or my option would be, if I'm hearing you right, what you guys do is you come in and you would help me get more comfortable. Say, let's do an assessment before you decide what you need internally. Is that sort of how you would engage? Because I think that would be, for me as a business owner, I'd be thinking about, well, how does this work?
Yes, you're spot on. We get involved with a lot of audits and assessments and coming in and really taking the time to understand just what the company is all about, from the company itself, the products or services that they offer, the customers that they have, and the competition that they face. So really understanding kind of what we call the insights piece and the collection. and understanding that is we call it, Chief Outsiders calls it the growth gear strategy. So it's insights that inform strategy. And then we can talk about execution and tactical plans and measurement and resources and all that kind of stuff. But it really starts with just understanding from a market perspective versus operational, the company, the customers, the products, and then designing strategies. Like I said, where we're going to sell, where we're going to plan, how do we win, and what are the points of difference, and what's the strategy in terms of how we communicate that, and how do we articulate that, and who are we going after, and let's make sure that we're very focused and aligned on that. And then the execution are the tactical plans, the measurement, how are we going to measure success, how do we know when we're there, so we can do more what's working and less of what doesn't. And then the resource plan, what's the staffing look like, how much are we going to lean into outside contractors and agencies. So we kind of build out, kind of follow again that kind of that growth strategy, the growth gears, insights, strategy, and execution. It works really well.
What I love about this, having run businesses, is it's clear, it's concise, and it's proven. Unlike when you bring a potential marketing person in, they may come in and bring their own ideas from their own business, and that may just be different than the way you operate. What I love about what you're describing is, so if I'm a small business owner, you're not going to come in and tell me to do all this stuff differently. It's like moving the furniture in someone's living room and saying, you need to change all this around. You're actually understanding the roots of the company, where did it begin, how did it get there, and then making sure that you're operating within that environment as you make recommendations, versus new people come in and they want to change everything, which causes, I think that's why there's a lot of angst with business owners about marketing. They tend to be worried someone's going to come in and change everything. So if I was to say, boy, that sounds interesting, how would I know that I'm the right industry or the right size company, or is it pretty much open to anybody, or is there like a real avatar target that you say, these are the ideal people that get the most value out of what we do? How would you describe that?
Well, I would say it's small to medium-sized business, those who can't afford a full-time head of marketing.
Yep.
Okay. And they need some help to help kind of navigate all of that. And they may have the ideas, but they may not have the process and the structure, and they may be just might be spinning out their employees who are just chasing and reacting and responding, and they're kind of all over the place. Again, random asks of marketing, you see it a lot. It's human nature, right? So we help kind of bring that structure and that framework to it, and kind of just break it down so it's easily understood and communicated, and that we've got alignment on that. And also the point about coming in and changing things, we have a thing at Chief Outsiders is called meeting the client where they are. Right. So as an example, if we build out a proposal that has a scope of work around different buckets of things that need to get done, and deliverables and a time frame, we always say, once we get in and dive in, that could change, or that could get deferred. If there's something that's immediate that needs attention and focus, and kind of all hands on deck, then we will shift and respond. We tend to really, that first 30 or 60 days of an engagement, front load to really understand where the real issues and problems are, and then tackle them and make something happen quick. We call it just going after the low-hanging fruit, and make something happen, and start to kind of get the wheels turning. So I've had that happen a couple of times, and then come back and do the deeper strategic work and building the growth engine and the resource plan. So that happens a lot, and that's how adaptive and resilient that we are.
Yeah, I love because a lot of this idea of fractional CFO, fractional marketing is a new term for a lot of people. And unfortunately, a lot of them that I notice are not really in Maine yet. They go to the big metro markets. So I'm super excited that we have someone with your talent background, but also your whole personal story. Like, you care about this work, so you're not just in doing transactional work. All right. Well, if I was to try to find you, or if people listening to this, geez, well, how would I get a hold of her? How would I find out how this works? Where would you send them? Where would we send them? LinkedIn or your email? How would they find you better?
I mean, I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You know, my name is spelled Maile, and my last name is Buker. It is a Hawaiian name, in case you're wondering. Named name of a leaf.
You need to explain that. I think it's a cool story. I'm sorry, I love these stories. So real quick, just give the quick how did the name come about? I think it's awesome.
So Maile is a very well-known, a very common name in Hawaii. It's like Mary, right? So as I started to say, it's the name of a leaf that grows on a vine that in Hawaii they make leis out of, that grooms in traditional Hawaiian wedding ceremonies wear. So if you're in Hawaii and you see a leafy lei, that's Maile. That's what I'm named after.
Cool, love
So
it.
kind of like Mai Tai, Maile. Okay, so just saying. Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, or my email address is mbuker, Buker, at chiefoutsiders.com. And that's probably the best way to find me, or go on the chiefoutsiders.com website, check it out. I'm on there. You can see my bio and all that kind of good stuff.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I just really want to focus on Maine, and I want to help Maine business. There's such need, and I think I can help make something happen.
I agree. I agree. Well, again, thank you very, very much for coming on here. Thank you for the effort in Maine, and look forward to following the career here in Maine, see how it all goes. But thank you again.
All right, thank you, Mike.
All right, take care.
Bye.